you obviously have this incredibly unique voice, and you've kind of always had this unique voice. When you were first starting out, did you have to learn like how to use it?
No,
No?
no. I mean, if you mean literally my voice, like the voice box,
Yeah.
um, no. I'll tell you what. Well, my voice has changed as the years have gone by. I did a HBO special years ago called Cats, Cops, and Stuff,
Yeah.
and somebody put a clip of it up on Twitter a while back, and I clicked on it and listened, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Because my voice has changed. It's as the years have gone by, I'm heading in a Suzanne Plachette direction. Suzanne had a distinctly deep voice, which I think came from smoking, but I can't be sure about that. Uh, here's what here's what I've learned as I've since I started. Well, multiple things, but as a performer, for years I wanted to have some sort of a hook. you know, I want to have something that was, I don't know, like a hook. I don't know any other way of saying, like some sort of, quirk that was just mine.
Mm.
And I hopefully I didn't hang on to that idea for too many years, but what I figured out when I first started doing open mic nights in Boston, which the premise of an open mic night is that anybody who wants to can go up for 5 minutes, right? So, you're supposed to go for 5 minutes. So I would write out my 5 minutes, and somewhere in my nervousness, I would often forget, and sometimes it wasn't even that. Sometimes in my anxiety, I even before I began my 5 minutes, I would get on stage and blurt out something about the person who'd been on before me, or about something that I just saw in the room as I walked to the stage. Well, now I don't know how many minutes it took me to say that, and so I would be lost in time within seconds of hitting the stage,
Mm.
and therefore I would end up doing a lot of just talking to the audience. Where are you from? What do you do for a living? I time honored. Where are you from? What do you do for a living? And as I used to take notes every time I did a set, I had carried a notebook, excuse me, and I would write down the date and the circumstances of where I was, and I would take these notes. By the way, not notes that I ever read again, so it was sort of a waste of time, but I did. And
Huh, that's interesting.
one day, while writing the notes, it dawned on me, because in the beginning I felt like it was really bad that I couldn't stick to my 5 minutes, that this was a deficit, that this was a bad thing. And one day it dawned on me that the best part of my set, regardless of the fact that I have no idea how long the set was, that the best part of my set was the part where I was talking to the audience. And so then I shifted what I was doing. Instead of trying desperately not to do stuff in a spontaneous way, I tried to leave windows where I could do
Huh.
stuff in a spontaneous way. And also, as time went by, instead of desperately wanting some sort of a hook, I just made a somewhat conscious effort, I guess, to just be more and more myself on stage.
Yeah.
And that's, so to the degree that I change as the years go by, it's only because guess what? You change a little bit as the years go by, just
Yeah.
in real life, even if I was a, heaven forbid, software designer.
So, when you think about Cats, Cops, and stuff, that won you your first cable ACE award, which I think you were the first woman to win that at the time.
Oh,
Or
probably. Of course, the
yeah,
Cable Ace Awards couldn't have been around that long at that point.
sure, but I mean, it's still a huge accomplishment. I mean, how long had you been working on that set before it was ready?
Oh, not very. And the same thing about that, which is I had a set, um, I, where I wrote down on a piece of paper a list of pieces that I would do. Um, but part of the reason that I did that in a very concrete way, had this list of pieces that I would do, was so that I had the because I knew I would be nervous. And so I had the framework to return to anytime I jumped off. And because that show too, the best parts of it were the part where I was just talking to the audience, not stuff that is unique just to that night. There was a conversation I had with a woman. It's a long story to explain the whole circumstance of it, so I'll just do the shortened version, which is I was talking to a woman in the audience who confessed to me at my prodding, that her mother had been in a car service station, fallen into a lube rack, and got her face torn off. And I can't explain why that was funny, but because she was telling us a true story. And I think part of it was my reaction, which of course was horror, especially because here I was doing a comedy show and now someone's told me this like god awful thing. But for some odd reason, it struck everyone in the audience as funny, and we howled. And to this day, there's the occasional person who comes up to me and says, "Are you going to do the lube rack thing?" And I always have to sort of, there is no lube rack thing. It was a conversation.